Thursday, October 12th, 2023, Monaco 64, home of alternative economics and contrarian views. Today, we're going to look at how the gold price has bounced off the 200-week moving average and why that is significant in the long term. Of course, with all that's going on in the world right now, especially in Israel and Gaza, that seems pretty insignificant, but that's what we're going to cover. And before we look at gold and the markets and what I think is going on, I'm going to talk a little bit of what I'm doing here in Turkey. You might not know that I'm in Turkey for a 1-week golfing holiday with my nephew and a friend of his. We're not far away, of course, from where this war is, but unfortunately we can't plan things in advance knowing what's going to happen in the world. What do I think about what's going on in the Middle East, Israel and Gaza? While some of you might know that my background academically, I have a degree in international relations with economics, a BA degree, bachelor's degree. And even before going to university, I always loved history, and I've done a lot of research about what's been going on in the world, for many, hundreds of years. And I'm very much aware of what the history is in that region. And there's a lot of debate, of course, on both sides. But putting that aside, some of you have said, oh, make sure that Rafi's all right, get him out of Israel, tell him to go back to the US. And I thought about having Rafi on the live stream on Sunday, but I think it was a little too early to do that. And I could see that Rafi was quite... he wasn't himself, and I thought let the people cool down and look at things. And I've been reading what Rafi's been saying, trying to, of course, because focusing on also enjoying myself. We had our first round of golf yesterday. I'll come to that in a minute. But anyway, I'm looking here this morning, and by the way, it's just after 7 a.m. Turkish time, which is the same time in Israel. So, as I said, I'm quite close to that area. And 7 a.m. Turkey time is midnight Eastern time. So, the U.S. has just come on to the 12th of October. In London, it's 5 a.m. But Rafi tweeted this about an hour ago, I think. And he says, war report. We had our first air raid siren last night in the Golan, and we ran to our neighbor's shelter, my wife, me, and our 5 children. It was a false alarm, flock of cranes. Now I'm thinking the army that did absolutely nothing for 7 hours while 1,000 Jews were slaughtered and 150 kidnapped is the same army telling me to go into a bomb shelter over a flock of cranes. Either the IDF is incompetent to the point of brain dead, or something evil inside it is lurking, hurting us intentionally. Either way, I'm assuming all sirens are psyops until I actually hear an explosion. Deep State, you had me for 2 weeks in 2020 when you told me to flatten the curve. You had me for 2 days in 2023 when you told me to flatten the strip. He means the Gaza Strip. Let's all say it together again. Round 2, ready? I will not comply. And I couldn't agree more with Rafi. And I think this current crisis has the smell of orchestration, if you know what I mean. And what's the whole point of it? Well, it's psychological, but also financial, I would say. Notice how Treasury yields have come off massively. I mean, up until before this all kicked off in Israel and the Gaza Strip, the 10-year yield was hovering around 4.9, ready to go to 5%. Even Jamie Dimon and Larry Fink were saying, well, Jamie Dimon was talking about 7%, Larry Fink about talking of 5.5, and here we are right now, as I'm talking to you from Belek, and I'll talk a little bit about where I am. Yeah, it's at 4.57, the 10-year. So we've gone down almost 40 basis points. It's down another 2.5 basis points. And how does that work? Well, I think when you see what's happening in the Middle East, it's not just about Israel and the Palestinians or Gaza. It's about the whole region. It's about Turkey here too. And I've seen that Erdogan some days ago said they will support the Palestinians till the end. And it's interesting because Turkey is part of NATO. It's got one foot in the west and one in the east because it's a Muslim country. And it's interesting because also physically it's got part of Turkey is in Europe, and the majority of Turkey, of course, is in Asia or Asia Minor. So yeah, things are really, how can I say, crazy. And I think Rafi defined it well. It's another round, unfortunately, of a crisis. And we were wondering a few weeks ago, and the 10-year yield broke above 4.33%. I said that we could see all hell break loose, and I didn't mean geopolitically or war-wise, but it has. And I think they found their crisis to have an excuse for a reprieve, a respite from rising yields. I don't think the bear market in bonds is over by any stretch of the imagination, and but I think yields could go a bit further down, and that will stabilize things. Just think about it. The U.S. cannot function as a power if what underpins the U.S. dollar is crashing, and that's treasuries. I read that Bank of America reported, and I have to thank Rafi for that, for his Endgame Investor newsletter. They said there's a $70 trillion hole in treasuries held to maturity. But Rafi makes a good point that the whole financial system needs collateral, and the collateral is treasuries. And if you have a 70 trillion hole, even though it's held to maturity, when you renew that collateral, when you refinance, people are not gonna, they're gonna account for that 70 trillion. So I was thinking earlier this morning that Israel wouldn't be around if the U.S. didn't support Israel. I know that might sound a little bit controversial, but I think financially Israel would would be in trouble if it wasn't for the U.S. support. It has supported Israel financially for decades. So if what underpins the dollar is like crashing, Israel is at risk existentially, I think. And what better way to shore up the dollar than the latest crisis. And I know it sounds conspiratorial, but after reading Rafi, I agree with him. I wanted him to like calm down and look at things, and he has, and I'm glad he did. And I hope that he'll be all right with his family up there in the Golan Heights, which is northern part of Israel. And a little bit about, before we go into gold in the markets, and that's the psychological thing as well. They make you think, well, it's not important anymore because you see all those people dying, on both sides, and children getting hurt and killed. But we will talk about that. But a little bit about where I am. And if you notice this little bracelet here, this is like currency in this resort, because my nephew and his friends, they booked everything from Switzerland, and it's an all-inclusive hotel resort. It's by the beach. It's got a huge swimming pool. It's got tourists from all around the world, a lot of Russians. And it's interesting because in the last year and a half, all the stories out about the Ukraine and Russia, and you read comments in the papers in the UK, like in the Telegraph, and you get people saying, oh, they're barbarians, the Russians, they're backward. But let me tell you, they're anything but. There's loads of Russian families with their children enjoying themselves, and there's a lot of Germans, British, everyone together. And I mean, they don't mingle, of course, but that's the other thing that has made me realize, and I knew that, of course, but this place is proof that we can live in peace. And unfortunately, with what's going on, maybe in 12 months' time, people won't be coming here. Hopefully they will, but with the way things are going in the Middle East, I'm not too sure. And I've been reading as well, Rafi mentioned that the United States is sending carrier groups, aircraft carrier groups to the waters of Israel. And I saw that they're sending the USS Gerald Ford and all the ancillary vessels along with it. I'm not sure if it's arrived there. It left the Adriatic, like Italy, some days ago. And they're thinking of sending another one. And you kind of wonder, why does Israel need all that? The Gaza Strip, they can handle it. I just saw Ehud Barak, former Prime Minister of Israel, and I was watching BBC News, which I usually don't, but here in the hotel they have it. And he said, we can get control of the Gaza Strip in the next 6 weeks. So why does Israel need all those aircraft carriers and all the U.S. vessels? Well, maybe they're preparing for a bigger, not Israel, but the United States, for a bigger crisis vis-a-vis Iran, Syria, Russia, who knows? And that's worrying. What about I was talking about this bracelet. So yeah, it gives you go, it's a huge restaurant they have, and they've got so much food that when you pick your dinner, for example, and then you're walking back to the table, you say, oh, I should have picked that. So yeah, you have to do a tour and decide what you want, really. And it's also free drinks. And we played our first round of golf yesterday, and we were joking, are we going to play for the drinks? Because you don't have to pay for the drinks, it's all inclusive. And had a good round. I actually, they're a lot longer than I am. They're younger, but I actually kept up with them. I think I tied my nephew. I had a bad 18th hole, and the other guy who's off 4, he only beat me by 2 shots. So we'll see what happens today. We had a walk around up the beach. It's a really long beach, and as I said, a lot of Russians. You can hear them speaking. I didn't go into the Mediterranean because I'm trying to be careful with my eyes not to get infected. But one of my nephew and his friend, they had a quick dip. The water's pretty nice and it's quite warm. It's like in the high 20s here, maybe centigrade. It's very dry heat though. And yeah, today we're gonna play just before 11. So we're gonna play every day for the next few days. And I'm gonna be back home on Tuesday next week. So enough of enough of that. Let's look at gold. And just before I do, actually, there's a lot of shops in this resort. And if you want to check it, it's called Kaya Belek, or Belek Kaya, the hotel. Belek, and Kaya is Kaya. And yeah, they have a lot of fake stuff here in Turkey, watches and handbags. I'm not really into that stuff. I think it's wrong for people to copy things like that. But I did find this. These are not silver, but they're historic Turkish coins going back to the 70s. I thought that would be interesting to get. That's something people don't use here that much anymore because of the inflation. You don't see people using coins. You see a lot of people using euros. So that's what's going on. So I was talking about gold and the fact that it held the 200-week moving average. And I think that's very significant because, as you can see here from this chart, gold was starting to break out of this falling wedge. And then in the last few weeks, it's just been hammered since from the end of September, beginning of October. The price was hammered along with silver. And I think the fact that you had Golden Week in China for a week in the beginning of October helped. The Chinese were celebrating. They weren't involved in the market, so it's easy to hammer the paper price. And we've seen also news recently that China is continuing to buy a lot of physical gold. I think they bought about 26 tons in September. So, and I saw the other day the spread between the London price and the Shanghai price is still above $100. I'm not sure where it is right now. But as you can see, we broke below that falling wedge, which was very bearish. But as you can see, we held that 200-week moving average. And why is that 200-week moving average important? Well, because if you look back, ever since around 2018, 2019, the gold price has remained pretty much above that 200-week moving average. And that means that we've been in a bull market since the lows in, let's say, late 2015, when I actually started this channel. And we just retested that. And as you can see, we bounced right off it. And the other thing, and this is a weekly chart, the other thing, we've gone back above the bottom part of the falling wedge. So that's very bullish. And with the way the bond markets are going, and I saw the minutes of the Fed came out yesterday as well, and they seem to be like not sure what's going on. They're on hold, and yeah, the Fed is like really clueless, I think. And they were surprised, of course, with the move in yields in the last few weeks after we broke 433. I mean, I could have told them, but a lot of these people working for the Fed, they're just bureaucrats, economists, academics. They don't know how markets work. But now they're realizing that, and they're saying, well, you know, the tightening financial conditions is going to help us probably keep rates more steady. We won't have to raise as much, and we might begin cutting next year in 2025. And today, of course, we got CPI in the U.S. That will be important. But be as it may, I think gold and silver could be out of the woods, you know. But technically, but you know that as an insurance, as something to have outside the system, I think it will always be good, and that's how I look at it. And as to do with crises, if you go back to 2001, we had another one of these crises, right, in September of that year, and that was pretty much when gold bottomed as well in the beginning of this century. And then you had the 08 crisis. Yes, it was volatile around that time, but gold bottomed at 680, went to 1900. Yes, it has been stuck here, but also in 2018, 2019, 2020, gold took off. The 2020 crisis took gold to a new high above 2,000. And I think what's going on now, even though most people think of it as an Israeli Gaza crisis, I think it's much bigger than that. So again, that's the way I see it. This could be the next catapult for gold, silver, and other commodities, I would say. And things are going to get rough, I think, for the bond markets. Long term, it's, as I said, yields are going to continue to go up. But silver as well. I think I spoke last week, and I said that, or the week before, when silver was getting hammered as well, that we had to hold this high from, when is it here? July 2016. We had a high around 21.15, and that's the level that we have to hold. And we broke through that level, but now we've gone above that level. So I think silver as well has put a bottom there, and because now we're at 22.12 as I speak here. So let's quickly go through the markets then. It's very early, of course. It's well, it's 5:30 a.m. London time. It's yeah, very early in the U.S., but be as it may, you know, I'm here, and let's have a look. So we've got spot gold at 1877. It's up $3. High's been 79, the low 73. So a very narrow range. It's still early days, and we got CPI, don't forget. Spot silver is up 8 cents at 22.10. Dow futures up 76. NASDAQ is up 48, and S&P is up 13. I've noticed, you know, the currencies have recovered versus the dollar, especially sterling and the euro. Sterling is unchanged right now, 123.18. The euro as well, unchanged, 126.28. Dollar is unchanged versus the yen at 149.14. And the dollar yuan is stuck around that 730 level. We're just below it right now. What about the other currencies? Let's have a look here. Aussie dollar is up slightly at 64.20. And the dollar is unchanged versus the Canadian dollar, 135.85. Kiwi dollar is down slightly, but it's just above 60. What about the other general commodities? Well, crude has come off. I think we went up to 86 earlier this week because of what's going on in the Middle East. But we saw the week before, like late last week, crude dropped almost $10. So it's still a bit under pressure here. It's at 82 now. It's come off. Brent is at 85. Platinum is trading just below 900, and high-grade copper also still fairly weak at 364. So with that, I'm going to wish you all a very good day. Take care. Bye.